Surfing the rainbow. The rainbow helps us understand how to get the best out of our teams. With policing at the right-hand end of the rainbow, through training, advising, and into mentoring and coaching skills. The challenge is which style of engagement do you use in each situation? Well, I guess the first thing to consider is, where do you start? There are many different criteria which influence which style of engagement you should start any conversation with. There are the environmental risks, the things that are going on around the individual that might influence where you start. Then there are the behavioral risks, the kind of relationship you already have with the person and what the last conversation you had with them was. There's also capability. Is this a skill deficiency where the person needs to be taught a new way of doing it? Or is it a beliefs and values issue where the person clearly doesn't believe it's important to do it the right way? Or finally, is it that they just don't understand that's not the way we do things round here? Let's start understanding policing. Policing can only be used to create the minimum level of required performance, the minimum standard, so to speak. Excellence is not found by following the minimum standard. So in its own right, policing is a limiting approach. However, policing is totally appropriate where there are significant risks, a narrow opportunity to influence, or a significant repeat offender. Training in its own right is a good approach. It helps develop skills and create an understanding of how the job should be done. But like most training, workplace behaviours don't replicate the classroom environment. Take manual handling as a great example. We're all taught to stand shoulder width apart, bend our knees, straighten our back, assess the load, walk the route. We all know how we should lift, yet when we get in the workplace, we're scooping things up, off-centred, carrying 3 boxes all at the same time because it saves us going back twice. The time versus risk choices get in the way of the actual taught behaviours. Many years ago, we softened the safety officer's role to a safety advisor. We recruited fairly senior members of the team who had life's experiences and had done the job, and we put them out in the workplace with the idea that they would put their arm around your shoulder and say, if I were you, I wouldn't do that. I guess the challenge is they're not you. They're not suffering the same time pressures. They're not under the same constraints. So the advising role is limited in its capability because it's very much about doing what somebody else wants you to do whilst they're there. We've all had great mentors in our lives at some point. The interesting thing about mentors is we learn more than just how to do the job. Great mentors share with us their beliefs and their values, what they hold to be true about the task, and what's important to them about doing it this way. It's such a difficult task to be a good mentor because so many times people say things like, don't do what I do, do what I say, or don't do it this way when somebody else is watching. We learn more than just that shortcut. We learn the process of thinking about taking shortcuts, which then become our way of thinking all of the time. The significant difference between policing, training, advising, and mentoring is that all 4 of those approaches require the person starting the engagement to know the answers to the questions they're about to ask. They need to know the rules, the way it has to be done. The challenge with coaching is we have to pretend we don't know those answers. We're more interested in finding out how the person thinks for themselves to create their own behaviours than we are about making them follow the norm. Coaching requires us to ask better questions This evokes solutions from within that allow the person to own their own ideas. And now they own their own ideas, they stick with them. Surfing the rainbow helps us understand which style of engagement we should at least start a conversation with, allowing ourselves to recognize that moving around the rainbow to the mentoring and coaching end allows us to influence the choices people make. And I guess that's the key. Policing requires us to catch somebody doing something wrong, to correct their behaviours and have a conversation. Mentoring and coaching allow us to influence the choices from within, and choices stay with people 24/7. Chance versus choice. I guess the choice is yours.